Okay, so we got everything all over the place. Okay, that's what we have. We have everything all over the place. So I'll give an example. Somebody says, "Well, this is correct." Somebody says, "No, this is correct." Somebody says, "No, this is correct." Well, look, none of anything anybody says is correct. You know what's correct? What is true is correct. So what is true? Well, look, in any given element, whatever anything may be, there's always something that is more correct, more true. What is the most true in any given element? That's your answer. So a lot of people are trying to be politically correct. There's not time for that. That's for later. There's not time for games. That's for later. Many things that people are doing is not time for. Yet they got things all over the place, mixed. You know what's fascinating to me? Something or someone that literally, this different topic of discussion I'm talking about now. Something literally made zero sense to me. However, that was only one specific. Those specific people, not everybody. And those specific people are still receiving some type of a reflection of nonsense. However, I'm making sense in terms of everything else that made sense back. So, whoever those groups are, that they received some type of a whatever anything that they received, got a cup liquid amount and got everything, whatever they gave, whatever that pertained to them. So this is very, very weird. This is very, very weird because this would happen in totality of everything. The totality of everything, a lot of people didn't make sense to a lot of people, and expected sense, expected people to be true, expected something or someone to create something out of nothing and whatever they have, and you know, a lot of nonsense. In other words, man, a lot of unpuzzles. So here I am dealing with a lot of unpuzzles. And people may say, "Oh well, something was because of us." They're still trying to prove back and forth with one another, saying, "Oh yeah, it was because of us that this happened. It was because of us." When I'm speaking and everything I say is true, I'm telling you who something was because of. Okay, I'm not saying something just to say something. Throughout the midst, throughout the entire midst, the excessive nonsense, majority of everything that they did was harmful. Every form of thing that is harmful today, every form of thing that's not on point, that doesn't make sense, that is wrong, is because of them. They can take credit for every form of problem upon the face of this earth. Okay? They won't take credit for something, they can take credit for all the problems, all the damages everywhere that's been done. Those groups were responsible for all damages that were done. Well, and on me too. That's why I'm not able to do what I need to do. So they may say, "Oh, well, we were responsible for this, for this, for that." No, I just happen to be a person where whatever you throw at me, I'm just able to filter out and make something better. While they made themselves, they did the same thing to other people, and You can see the effect on other people of what other people have been. You know, the damage. So even though specifications, some people may claim that, oh yeah, you know, something was because of us with specifications. That makes sense. Majority was because I was true and because of truth. So that's still mixed. That has to be distinguished too. And also, usually, while I was doing something that occurred, while those groups arrived near me and caused some type of issue, and also, usually there was some type of ricochet that was going on. So while I was doing something, they were near me while I was doing something. There was a ricochet going on. They did some. They were responsible for something like with 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever. They took credit for 1,000 things in the moment of time, and a variety of other processes that they made themselves in terms of duping, convincing, lying, cheating. This is the narrative they want to maintain, that supposedly something was because of them. And me being true and me being honest and me going through the experience, they're the reason why something today is not on dot on point, where something is not perfected, and how everything should be perfected. These virus groups, whoever's causing any form of physical or emotional harm, usually. So let's stop the let's settle this once and for all, you know. And then with that said, in time everything will be distinguished. Keep in mind no one does any form of fabrication, mixing. Keep in mind they don't attempt to remember, you know what else is fascinating to me? What? Look, do you know how else they're trying to take credit? Look, they keep continuously forcing themselves in people's lives. Method strategy, misuse of truth. They keep forcing themselves in people's lives, and I keep talking about their stories so cancers won't grow, and they're not allowing me to talk about all the stories that I need to talk about, everything that made sense. So I'm talking about forcefully their story, their cancer, so the cancer can go away, so then I could talk about everything else because everything else is much more than their cancer. While you know how they're operating, they're giving people impressions, they're giving people visions and thoughts, playouts, and a bunch of other stuff to make people believe all sorts of lies. Okay, to win people over, to guilt trip them, to make them passive, to blame them. So they're gonna fail because, and they are failing because what they've done is more harm than good. So makes zero sense in terms of what they're trying to portray, paint, make people believe. Their narrative, their math, everything is flawed. And I think the reason they're able to do this continuously is because either A, they have sticks and fuels left. B, they have sticks and fuels left, and people are partaking in their lies, siding with them, playing politics. Excuse me. And C, they're adapting, copying, conforming to people's reactions, opinions, thoughts, ideas, doings. In other words, passing lies for truth and a wide variety of other techniques and methods they're doing. Last night I mentioned all the problems that they were doing. And so all the methods that they may have been using. So what's going on is this too. They're getting a lot of methods, all the methods you can think of, and they're putting something together, and they don't care about something making sense. They just want to splatter everything, you know? You know how something flows and something goes and how something is supposed to be? They don't care about that. They just care about doing something just to do something, just to call themselves needed, and even creating problems to justify their doings, and even going against the very same problem, excuse me, going against the very same thing that is a problem against what is a cure. They're doing this without even realizing, without even knowing. They're giving people illusions. They're working off of illusions. Remember, if they're saying, if everybody's saying, oh well, everybody's generally doing the same thing, no, that's false. Not everybody's doing generally the same thing. If people are doing similar things of specific elements, whatever anybody's doing, let's say you have 10 groups. 10 groups are, these groups are doing something wrong. These groups are doing something that is true. These groups are saying what you guys are doing wrong. These groups are saying no, what you guys are doing wrong, even though something is similar. Something may be similar what somebody's doing. However, this group has the elements that are off, that are wrong, that are all over the place, that don't make sense. Their beliefs are off, their experiences are off, their effects, their influences are off, everything is off. And everything what they're doing may be wrong. Why? Because they haven't possibly changed themselves to be true to then do something that is similar to make sense. Versus this group, that the beliefs, the elements, everything adds on, everything is just, everything makes sense, that they have changed something to be able to make sense of something, so something flows. Something is, there's some type of a sophistication thing here. And the sophistication thing is how this group is all over the place, wrong math, not making sense, and this group over here is making sense. So while I'm mentioning this, you know what I also am noticing too? I'm noticing a lot of effects, a lot of influences at the moment of time where some people are doing a bunch of twisted stuff. So in other words, you know how in the beginning people are like, "Oh, let's find out some information. Let's find out about something first, and then allow something to be." Well, they didn't allow something to be, and they're still making wrong choices, wrong decisions, not allowing something to be the way something is supposed to be, and claiming something or someone is wrong. There's some type of a sophistication thing going on then. And at the moment of time, they're proving, "Oh, look, we're needed." He's talking about us, not talking about you. And the problem is these groups, instead of applying the answers, instead of practicing what is true, instead of being the answers, instead of being the truth, they're doing the opposite and then having a wrong effect. And then I'm doing what I'm doing while I'm doing something in the process, in the midst. They're basically trying to argue and say that something is because of us and nothing is because of them, realistically. This conversation that I had, I should have not been having. This is excessive conversation. That's how wrong they are. They've made this accustomed to people, possibly, made them believe that something is normal, that something is true. What I should be talking about is everything else. The reason I'm not talking about everything else is because if I do talk about everything else, these groups have possibly a tendency to do the opposite, to adapt, to go against something that is true. So therefore, those groups are stopping the need of what is true. Notice how pathetic and how wrong and how illogical and how absurd these groups really are. In their minds, they think they're correct. In their minds, they think something is because of them. And if anything is because of them, any problem that you're seeing, you're sensing, you're experiencing is because of them. Think in terms of that. And what else I'm noticing is this: while I'm explaining something in a moment of time, we got a wrong math going on. You know what the wrong math is? You know what the wrong math is? The wrong math has to do with while I'm explaining something in the moment of time, groups have are possibly doing some type of a wrong effect, wrong influence, making blind decisions, blind choices, and then possibly blaming me or somebody else of their wrong choices, wrong decisions. So, what are they realistically prolonging? I don't know. They're prolonging something with themselves. They're still possibly being a vacuum where something is not making sense. So, even this moment of time while I'm trying to explain something, I can't explain something the way I'm supposed to explain something, you know? Something is dots. Something is dots. Something is a pool. Something is not the ocean of what I could have been doing. And this is all because of those groups that did that, whatever they did. And to be honest with you, something should have been 10,000 times worse. What I did is I made something 10,000 times better. So something is 10,000 times worse, while something is 10,000 times better. There's a balance of that. The problem is the balance is supposed to be uh, water, truth with balance, with moderation, not healthy food and junk food with balance. You see? That's the illogical twisted thing that's occurring. So those groups are very, very wrong. And they make themselves seem correct. They fool people. Notice how whatever they've done, they fool people. They've convinced people. They've manipulated people to make people believe that they're correct. They're not correct. They don't want me to mention this. They want me to mask this. They want me to sweep this under the rug. Those groups want me to bandage this. The only problem is if I do, nothing will ever get solved. Nothing will be solved. Yet some people have done that for a long time, thinking that, oh, well, that's correct. Let's try this method. Oh, well, that's correct. Let's try this method. You know why? Because they don't know knowledge of true self. And somebody I believe is predictive programming me. They're thinking similar to how I'm thinking. That has to be abundantly known too. People don't know true knowledge of self, and they fell victim to these nonsense groups. However, nothing was their fault. Therefore, everything has to be known, distinguished, and established. And everybody has to get their predicaments. And I heard OMG, OMG at the moment of time with the plane, signifying something. That also has to be abundantly known too, of who did that and why they did that. Everything has to be abundantly known to truth, not those who call themselves truth. Usually anything that's good. So you will have a proven track record. You will be known that you are true. Something won't just simply be where something is saying something. Something will be proven. So people have made something ridiculous. They've been trained and accustomed to what is true, and anything that doesn't fit in their image is false. However, there's a mix of that where what is true versus what is false. What I'm doing in terms of what I went through makes sense. Don't get the story twisted either. Some people may say, okay, well, this is what we're accustomed to. This is true. This is what we're not accustomed to. This is false. And the opposite may be true. And I've explained this before, and I can explain this again. I choose not to. Why? Because I'm also sensing that while I'm explaining something, some people are doing some type of a limit, some type of effect, some type of influence, whatever they're having. It's not the way something is supposed to be. So is this all interconnected with all of what is occurring, all of what is going on? That doesn't make sense too. And therefore, people are seeing a reflection of themselves. Possibly. Because I'm noticing while I'm doing something, something's not making sense for me to do. You know? So then you have an option to continue to do what you do, so something is not making sense, to change and turn something to making sense, or to not do anything at all, and who knows what will happen. Continuing to make sense and everything changing accordingly to what makes sense is the answer. Unless the person cannot continue, then that's a different story. However, whatever is continuing has to only be true. There's no point of continuing something if you're false. Being false is going against the nature of reality. So that's what is abnormal. The fact that something is continuing and something is going against the very reality of what something is continuing. So that's a problem. Has to be no stopped and prevented and changed. Anything that's false.